the Boise State or the Houston or the, whoever plays in the New Year's Bowl that tries to upset the big boys, right? That was them.
Yep, exactly. And I'm not going to sit here and say that was a signature win, but I think it was a very solid win. And two plays happened in that game last night or Saturday night that just do not happen to Gopher football teams. One, right after leading for a vast majority of the game in the fourth quarter, after Fresno State went up, Fresno State took a 14-13 lead, and Zach Anistad, true freshman walk-on quarterback, scrambled, just an unbelievable scrambling play when he was literally running in the opposite direction, running toward his own end, straight ahead towards his own end zone, somehow turn around and running to his left across his body. Fantastic catch by Tyler Johnson, and complete, 13-yard gain on a huge 3rd and 9, and that set up the go-ahead touchdown. So that was one play that never happens for the Gophers. And then, obviously, on the last Fresno offensive play, Antoine Winfield Jr. Picks off a pass on one of the best defensive plays you'll ever see at any level. Just unbelievable play.
Yeah.
So, Nick, you asked me why this should be different. Those two, and I know it's one game, but those two plays are plays that typically do not happen, that Gopher football does not end up on the right side on.
Well, I'll say for why this team and why now, I think it's just a completely different culture than, and I know that's one of Fleck's deals, right? His culture, but it's literally like they have, in the spring of every year, they have a formal where the whole team brings their girlfriends and a coach sits at each table and like has conversations about how to treat women, how to treat your wife, and this, all of this stuff. Like, it's different than I've seen around this program in years, right? And one of the things that frustrates me is people say, well, Fleck is just Brewster. Like, he's not even close.
Who says that?
A lot of the media will say he's Brewster 2.0. He's
for sure
2.0. And it's just, and fans, like the Twitter trolls, all those, like, that's somewhat of the message when you hear Fleck, and the whole Row the Boat, like, people get upset with Row the Boat. The message behind Row the Boat is actually a really, really cool message. And it's stuff like that I think is different about this program. And then on top of it, the players that he has coming in, like, people, a lot of fans and cynics and all that are giving him a hard time about Vic Viramontes, supposedly their big recruit. He's not their big recruit. Like, he was a bigger quarterback recruit, but Annexstad beat him out, and the kid basically took his ball and went home. Annexstad beat him out in the spring. The kid took his ball, went back to California because he wasn't going to be the starting quarterback, and he knew it. The big recruits were Rashad Bateman, the wide receiver, Terrell Smith, the D-back, Annexstad. Even as a walk-on, he turned down 3 Power 5 scholarship offers. Iowa was going to offer him, but he told him to pound sand because they're Iowa. So just little things like that are just different than we've had. Annexstad commits, and he gets 2 4-star linemen from his high school team in IMG Academy in Florida to come with them. So I think that part of the culture is just different, and that's where I see, like, yes, I think it was a signature win last Saturday night, but I see steps that are going to make them good in 2 or 3 years, where they could be a 9-10 win team pretty consistently, as long as Fleck's around. Now, hopefully that's a long time, but who knows?
Well, all right. So I'm still going to give them the whole season, right? Because it's a long season and they've only played 2 games. But looking at the schedule, it's not a bad schedule. The toughest, they've got 2 just by sort of home away, they've got 2 really tough games. They're at Ohio State, and then they finish the season at Wisconsin. Let's just assume you lose those. At Maryland, they should win that. Home Iowa, let's say you got to win at home.
Maryland's a little bit of a toss-up, but Maryland's a mess right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like at Maryland, the Maryland part cancels out the at part there.
Yeah.
But at Nebraska is not easy, but okay. But then home Indiana, at Illinois should be a win. Home Purdue, home Northwestern. Like they've got a pretty easy all else. They could have a worse schedule. Let's put it that way.
And I think Purdue and Iowa are going to be 2 really, really tough games. But Purdue's got a stud running back. It's just, and it'll see what happened with Rodney Smith. It sounds like the Rodney Smith injury is pretty bad. Like it doesn't, from what I've followed on like Gopher Illustrated and some of the other blog sites, is it's not a good situation with Rodney Smith's knee. So we'll see what happens there. Because then they'll be starting 2 true freshmen at running back.
Gopher Illustrated just like like a weird like rodent centerfold, and
that's exactly it. Yeah, no, it's 24 Sports, so it's Yachter's company. It's just their blog site. Yeah.
So whatever. So look, becoming bowl eligible in college football nowadays is basically like making the playoffs in the NHL. Like that should be table stakes criteria for a relatively, the beginning of a definition of a successful season. So get bowl eligible, keep your guys out of jail all season, and I will consider that to be a successful season for the Gophers.
Yeah, I would agree with that actually.
Now I do note that I think it's next week's game is championship game. One of the upcoming games is champions game, which leads me to the Minnesota Vikings, who opened the season this season today at U.S. Bank North Skull Arena, whatever the ship, whatever it's called, by celebrating the 1998 Vikings team. Before we talk about all the good from this game, we got to talk about this because it was the dumbest and most Vikings thing possible. Other than a loss would have been, but they didn't lose. So this was the dumbest and most Vikings. It's just, why are we going to celebrate teams that shit the bed when it mattered? Like that's just not like, why are we why are we continuing? I'm like, and the point is, if that's the highlight of this franchise's existence, right? If that's the bar, if that's the standard, then that's a crappy standard. Then that tells you this team has been bad more often than not, or been disappointing maybe more often than not. Right? 15-1 was a blast. That team was so much fun to watch in the regular season. So much fun to watch. And then when the game started, they played like losers. They coached themselves like losers, and they ended up losing the game. Right? I mean, like what? So, but we're like. The point wasn't that they had a celebration for the 98 team, because I guess 15-1 is pretty. I mean, that's worth celebrating, I guess. The point is that that had to be the season opening celebration, because they don't have anything better to start with.
Nothing like getting jacked up to go to the first game, and you're going to reopen that wound for me. Like, are you kidding me? I'm all pumped to go to the game. Oh yeah, by the way, wide left. Like,
right.
Thank you.
Like, it's just mind-boggling that people fall for this bull. Like, that there are people in media in the Twin Cities who are like, I don't understand all the people who don't think this is a good idea. Like, you're a jackass if you think that, and especially if you're in sports media. Like, stick to not doing a good job talking about hockey. Stick to getting embarrassed by Micheletti on a nightly basis.
Well, and apparently at the new TCO Performance Center, the new practice facility, there's like a huge wall about the Minneapolis Miracle, like in the team's Hall of Fame, or in the team's like whatever they call it out there. It's like, again, like a great play, but it does need a wall. Like, we lost the next game. Right?
You know what I would like to see? I would have liked them to keep a wall completely blank and then have a little like construction sign that says, "This wall reserved for when we win a Super Bowl."
Yes.
That's what you need a mural for.
I mean, I feel bad with the Vikings because it questions my my ethics as a human, because I start to think, like, I don't even care the type of players they bring in here. I don't care if the players hit the juice. I don't care if the players roid. I don't care if they're awful. Win me a Super Bowl, and I'm good. Like, and I would probably sign up for that with the Vikes. Like, I probably could care less that they're terrible humans. I'll be a role model to my kids. You guys go win the Super Bowl. Thank you. Like,
and next to that little construction icon on the blank wall should be a little caricature of Max von Sydow walking up to the house of the exorcism.
The other thing that I got to talk about before we get on to positive things with this game today and this team is when Cousins took off on that one run, and then he assumed the crash position before he got hit. And so, like, his neck was completely exposed to the guy coming in to try and tackle him. The only thing I could think of was Lou Brown saying, "Nice catch, Hayes. Don't ever fucking do it again." Like, what are you doing? Like, you're $84 million. I guess it's guaranteed, so he doesn't care, right? If he's he doesn't care. From the neck down, he can still spend it if he's paralyzed. No, what? Yeah. It was crazy. Totally crazy. Oh my god! All right. So anyway. 98 team, Cousins, whatever. First place, he dropped some balls in there, man. He's got some touch on that ball. Woo!
He's accurate, that's for sure.
Yes.
Incredible.
Both of his touchdown throws were great throws.
Yep.
That was fun to see.
Throws that Keenum can't make.
Correct. And didn't make. I watched part of that game. Did not make. But yeah, no, look, I mean, for whatever reason, it was pretty obvious all season that Keenum was never Zim's guy. So, he did right by the Vikings, Keenum did, but, if you're just paying attention a little bit to the way last season went, it shouldn't be a surprise that he's not here. The bigger surprise is that Teddy's not here, but to me, of those two things, it surprises. But regardless, Cousins is here. And I thought for the first half he played really well. He didn't make any mistakes in the second half. I didn't like that they couldn't get a first down late. That was a little distressing to me. But I think some of that was play calling too, which was sort of out of his hands. But I mean, I don't have any. I mean, he won, right? So I don't have any major. I don't really have any issues with him other than he's got to learn how to slide on that one play.
Yeah, and that series they had going into the halftime break, that was kind of a cluster bomb, I think. And I think Jim has touched on this. Jim and Yoder both touched on this of how good play calling Pat Shurmur had last year. Yeah, and it looks like judging by the drive at the end of the first half, they have some kinks to work out there. But I think they'll get a big uptick possibly next week when Elflein gets back. Yeah, I think he should be a pretty stabilizing force in the offensive line. I did not see all of the fourth quarter. Did Laquan Treadwell end up with more than one catch, or did he just end up with the one catch?
He had a really nice drop. Hit him in both hands.
Well, I was going to say he had two passes defended to his credit.
Yeah.
And then he turns around and starts chirping at Kyle Rudolph. That was just bizarre.
Stupid.
Granted, one of those two had to be in the wrong spot because either of them could have caught that ball, but
you're the one that dropped it, you tell me.
Yeah, maybe.
Exactly.
Maybe Butterfingers isn't the one that should be chirping.
I think the problem with Treadwell is they're just hitting him in the wrong number on all these throws. He had both hands on the ball in the clear. Right? I mean, right? If you listen to Jim and Tim, the knock on him has been that he struggles to create distance. Well, he had plenty of distance and space in that play. And he just dropped it. I don't know if he started looking or what, but dude, catch the damn ball.
Well, I don't even think he could have got the first down on the play that he did that play. But that doesn't matter. Like, you're an NFL receiver. You have to catch that pass.
He's Marty Haplad. I don't care about him. Go away.
Yeah. But, man, it's nice to see Thielen and Diggs just kind of picking up right where they left off.
Yeah.
And and a couple times, obviously Cousins with the two touchdown passes right on the money, but he also made some throws to Diggs and Thielen